In the heart of the 18th century, in a remote village hidden deep within the shroud of ancient, dense woods, there lay a dark secret that had haunted the souls of the villagers for generations. It was a secret so terrible that it was whispered only in hushed tones. And it was a secret that Sarah, a young woman with inquisitive eyes and a heavy heart, was determined to uncover. Sarah had always felt that something was amiss in the village of her birth, a feeling that gnawed at her like a persistent shadow. She had grown up hearing the cryptic warnings of her elders, the ones who remembered the curse that had befallen her family and the village itself. But Sarah was a child of curiosity, and curiosity, as they say, killed the cat. One chilling evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the ancient trees cast eerie, elongated shadows across the cobblestone streets, a stranger arrived in the village. His name was Nathaniel, and from the moment he set foot on the cobbled path, he radiated an aura of enigma and foreboding. His dark, penetrating eyes held secrets of their own, secrets that seemed to beckon Sarah closer, like a moth to a flickering flame. The villagers watched Nathaniel's arrival with a mix of fear and curiosity. They whispered tales of his nocturnal wanderings in the woods and his unnerving absence during full moons. It wasn't long before Sarah's path collided with his, setting in motion a series of events that would unravel the darkest mysteries of the village. One fateful night, as the silver moon cast its ghostly glow over the village, Sarah followed Nathaniel into the depths of the ancient woods. Her heart pounded like a drum, the cold air clinging to her like an icy shroud. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the towering trees seemed to close in around them, the darkness becoming denser with every step. The moment of revelation came when the moon reached its zenith, casting an eerie, silver light upon Nathaniel's face. His features contorted, his body convulsed, and the air was filled with an agonizing howl that pierced the silence of the night. Sarah's blood ran cold as she watched in horror, for she had stumbled upon the cursed secret her family had guarded for generations. Nathaniel was a werewolf. In that chilling moment, Sarah understood the dreadful truth. Her family's curse was not a mere folktale. It was a living nightmare, one that had now manifested before her very eyes. She had been drawn into a world of darkness and terror, where the line between humanity and monstrosity blurred, and the consequences of uncovering the village's dark secret were dire. Nathaniel's eyes, now more wolf than man, met Sarah's gaze. The beast within him lunged forward, a creature of primal instinct and boundless hunger. With a heart filled with sorrow, Sarah knew that the only way to protect her village was to confront Nathaniel, to fight the monster that had been unleashed. With every ounce of strength she could muster, Sarah fought back against the snarling beast. Her hands trembled as she clung to a makeshift weapon, a silver dagger that had been passed down through generations. She had heard that silver was the only substance capable of harming a werewolf, and she was about to put that knowledge to the test. Their battle raged on beneath the ominous moon, shadows dancing like specters around them. Sarah's determination and Nathaniel's ferocity clashed in a desperate struggle for survival. Blood and fur mingled in the moonlight as the villagers watched in fear from the safety of their homes, praying for the nightmare to end. Finally, as the first light of dawn began to break through the trees, Sarah plunged the silver dagger into Nathaniel's heart. The beast let out one final, mournful howl before collapsing to the ground, its curse broken at last. The villagers emerged from their hiding places, their faces a mixture of relief and grief. Sarah stood there, her breath ragged, her body trembling from the ordeal. She had faced the darkness within the village, confronted the curse that had plagued her family for generations. The consequences of her curiosity had been dire, but they had also been necessary. As the villagers gathered around, they offered their gratitude to Sarah, the young woman who had revealed the terrible truth and had ultimately saved them all. But Sarah knew that the scars of that night would linger, that the memory of the werewolf's curse would haunt her dreams for years to come. In the end, the remote village in the 18th century would remember that night as the one when the line between humanity and monstrosity had blurred, and the consequences of uncovering the darkest secrets had been both tragic and heroic. And in the dense, ancient woods that surrounded the village, the eerie atmosphere would forever be haunted by the ghostly howls of a cursed soul, silenced by the silver light of a relentless moon. Amidst the heart of a dense, ancient forest, nestled far from civilization, there stood a cabin. It was a place of solitude and serenity, a sanctuary for those who sought solace in the embrace of nature. For Emily, a nature enthusiast with an insatiable wanderlust, it was the perfect escape from the chaos of the modern world. Emily had stumbled upon the cabin during one of her treks deep into the woods. It was a hidden gem, surrounded by towering trees and bathed in the ethereal glow of the moon on clear nights. The cabin had an aura of mystery about it, as if it held secrets that were whispered only by the rustling leaves and the murmuring brook nearby. One crisp evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the forest, Emily arrived at the cabin. Her heart swelled with anticipation as she approached the quaint, secluded refuge. She had packed light for her retreat, with only the essentials to sustain her during her days of solitude. The cabin's rustic charm greeted her like an old friend. It was adorned with quaint wooden shutters and a welcoming porch where she could sit and watch the forest come alive with the symphony of night creatures. But, as Emily soon discovered, the cabin held more than rustic charm. It held secrets that would plunge her into a nightmarish ordeal. As the first silvery rays of moonlight filtered through the trees, Emily settled into the cabin, the comforting crackle of a firewood-fed fireplace warming her bones. The peace of the forest wrapped around her like a protective cloak, lulling her into a sense of security that would soon prove false. It was on the second night of her stay that Emily first noticed him, an enigmatic stranger named Michael. He appeared seemingly out of nowhere, his footsteps like whispers against the forest floor. Michael had the air of someone who had been on his own for far too long, his face obscured by a tangle of unkempt hair and the shadows cast by the moon. Intrigued and not one to turn away a fellow wanderer, Emily welcomed Michael into her cabin, offering him food and shelter for the night. He was a man of few words, his gaze penetrating, as if searching for something in Emily's eyes that she could not fathom. As the days passed, Emily and Michael fell into a routine, sharing meals and stories by the fireside. She learned that he was a wanderer, much like herself, drawn to the deep forest by an insatiable curiosity. Yet, there was an unease that lingered beneath the surface, a tension that seemed to grow with each passing night. It was during a moonlit night, when the forest was bathed in a silvery glow, that Emily's peaceful retreat descended into a nightmare. As she lay in her cabin, the walls adorned with macabre decorations that she had previously dismissed as mere eccentricities, she heard a sound that sent shivers down her spine, a low, guttural growl that seemed to come from deep within the woods. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she realized that Michael was nowhere to be found. Panic gripped her as she ventured outside, the moonlight casting eerie, elongated shadows across the forest floor. She called out to him, her voice quivering in the silence. Then, from the darkness emerged Michael, but he was no longer the enigmatic wanderer she had welcomed into her cabin. His transformation was grotesque, his body contorted and covered in fur, his eyes gleaming with an unholy hunger. Emily stumbled backward, her mind struggling to comprehend the horror before her. Michael had revealed his true nature. He was a creature of the night, a monster from her darkest nightmares. With a terrifying howl, Michael lunged at Emily, his claws outstretched like the talons of a predator. Emily's instincts kicked in, and she fled into the moonlit forest, her heart racing and her breath coming in ragged gasps. The dense trees seemed to close in around her, the eerie glow of the moon creating a surreal, nightmarish landscape. For hours, Emily ran, her desperate escape punctuated by the relentless pursuit of the monstrous Michael. It was a deadly chase through the moonlit forest, where every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking terror. Emily's survival instincts kicked in, and she pushed herself to the limits of her endurance, determined to evade the creature that once bore the face of a man. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, Emily stumbled upon a hidden crevice in the forest, a place where the moonlight could not reach. She crouched in the darkness, her heart pounding, listening for any sign of Michael's approach. It was there, in the eerie half-light of dawn, that she made a grim realization. The cabin's macabre decorations were not just eccentricities. They were the remains of Michael's previous victims. With the dawn came safety, and Emily knew that she had narrowly escaped the clutches of the monster that had infiltrated her peaceful retreat. She had learned the terrifying truth that the forest held secrets far darker than she could have ever imagined, and that trust could be a deadly mistake. As Emily made her way back to the cabin, she couldn't shake the feeling that the forest would forever be tainted by the horrors she had witnessed. The moonlight had revealed the true face of terror, and the once silent woods now echoed with the chilling growls of the unknown. For Emily, the moonlit terror of that fateful night would remain etched in her memory, a reminder that the primal fear of the unknown could lurk in even the most serene of places. And as she retreated from the forest, she knew that the secrets it held would forever haunt her dreams, a chilling reminder that not everything in the woods was as it seemed. In the heart of a small, quiet town, nestled amidst rolling hills and surrounded by dense woods, a sinister cloud of dread had cast its shadow. The townsfolk had long whispered about strange disappearances that plagued their community, like ghosts vanishing into the night. It was a mystery that weighed heavily on their hearts, a mystery that would soon draw the attention of Detective Anderson and Father James, the town's priest. Detective Anderson was a seasoned investigator, a man with a sharp mind and a penchant for solving the unsolvable. When he arrived in the town, the atmosphere was heavy with fear and uncertainty. The townsfolk had grown weary of the darkness that seemed to envelop their once peaceful community. Father James, on the other hand, was a man of faith. His deep connection to the town and its people ran through generations of devotion. He had witnessed the town's descent into chaos, its people gripped by an inexplicable fear. But Father James harbored a secret, one that he believed held the key to unraveling the darkness that had taken hold. As Anderson delved into his investigation, he pieced together a chilling pattern. The disappearances had occurred on the nights of the full moon, as if some malevolent force was unleashed when the moon reached its zenith. It was a mystery that defied reason and logic, leading Anderson to question whether there was a supernatural element at play. Meanwhile, Father James found himself drawn to an ancient silver amulet, a relic of faith and fear that had been passed down through generations of priests in the town. The amulet was adorned with intricate engravings, a testament to its age and significance. Father James couldn't shake the feeling that the amulet held the answers he sought. One fateful night, as the moon hung low in the sky, Anderson and Father James crossed paths, their investigations converging into a nightmarish reality. They stood at the edge of the dense woods, where the disappearances had taken place, their hearts heavy with trepidation. It was there that Father James revealed the truth about the ancient silver amulet. It was said to be a vessel, a conduit for a supernatural force that had been imprisoned for centuries. The amulet, he explained, had the power to unleash evil upon the town, but it also held the key to sealing the malevolent force once and for all. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the tension in the air grew palpable. The night seemed to come alive with strange whispers and eerie shadows, as if the very forest itself was aware of their presence. Father James clutched the amulet tightly, a symbol of faith and protection in the face of impending darkness. Suddenly, the full moon broke through the canopy of trees, casting an otherworldly glow upon the clearing ahead. In that eerie light, they beheld a horrifying sight, a monstrous creature, half man and half beast, with eyes that glowed with an unholy hunger. It was the embodiment of the supernatural force that had tormented the town, a werewolf of unspeakable terror. As the creature lunged forward, Anderson and Father James fought for their lives, the ancient amulet their only defense against the malevolent force. The battle raged on beneath the ghastly moonlight, a struggle between faith and terror, reason and the supernatural. With every ounce of their strength, they managed to subdue the beast, the amulet's power surging through them like a divine shield. In a climactic moment, Father James recited a prayer of exorcism, calling upon the forces of good to bind the evil that had plagued the town for centuries. The creature let out a deafening howl, its form writhing in agony as it was pulled back into the amulet, vanquished from the mortal realm once and for all. The moonlight dimmed, the forest fell silent, and the weight of the town's curse was lifted. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Anderson and Father James emerged from the woods, the ancient amulet now a symbol of redemption and triumph. The town, once gripped by fear, began to heal, its people finding solace in the return of peace and normalcy. But both Anderson and Father James knew that the battle against the supernatural had come at a great cost. The struggle between faith and terror had left scars that would never fully heal, and the consequences of meddling with dark forces had been dire. As they looked upon the town bathed in the gentle light of day, they understood that their actions had saved the community from the malevolent force that had haunted it for generations. The themes of faith, redemption, and the consequences of meddling with dark forces had played out in a way they could have never imagined. And in the heart of the small town, a newfound sense of hope emerged, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of the supernatural. The memory of that fateful night would forever linger, a chilling reminder that the struggle between faith and terror could push the boundaries of reason and sanity, leaving scars that ran deeper than the surface. In the shadow of a sprawling city, on the outskirts where civilization gave way to darkness, an abandoned asylum stood as a haunting relic of the past. Its towering, decaying walls and broken windows bore witness to a history tainted by madness and despair. It was a place forgotten by time, a place that beckoned to those who dared to venture into its depths. Emma was one such soul, an urban explorer with a fascination for the eerie and the unknown. She had heard the stories, the whispered legends of the asylum's dark past, and she couldn't resist the lure of its mysteries. With camera in hand and a heart filled with curiosity, she ventured into the forsaken structure, determined to capture the secrets that lay within. As Emma's footsteps echoed through the asylum's dimly lit corridors, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. Graffiti-like artwork adorned the walls, disturbing and chaotic in nature, as if the asylum itself had become a canvas for tortured souls. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, a silence that seemed to pulse with unseen malevolence. Unbeknownst to Emma, another presence lingered in the asylum that fateful night. Henry, a tormented soul with a dark secret, had sought refuge within the asylum's crumbling walls. He was a man cursed by the moon, a man whose very existence was bound to the lunar cycle. As the blood moon rose in the sky, Henry's transformation began. The night grew eerie and surreal as Henry's body contorted, his limbs elongating, and his senses sharpening to a fevered pitch. He had become a creature of the night, a werewolf, and the asylum had become his sanctuary. Henry's howls of agony pierced the silence, blending with the eerie echoes of the asylum itself. As Emma ventured deeper into the asylum, the darkness seemed to close in around her, and reality itself began to blur. Whispers echoed through the corridors, faint voices that spoke of madness and despair. Her camera's flash illuminated disturbing images on the walls, twisted depictions of torment and suffering. It was then that Emma stumbled upon a room that sent shivers down her spine. The walls were adorned with drawings that seemed to have been etched by tortured hands, each one a nightmarish tableau of insanity. The room's centerpiece was a blood-soaked bed, its rusted restraints a grim reminder of the horrors that had unfolded within these walls. As Emma continued to explore, she became increasingly aware of the asylum's malevolent presence. It whispered to her, its voice a cacophony of torment and despair. She could feel the weight of the madness that had consumed those who had once dwelled here, a madness that threatened to engulf her as well. Meanwhile, Henry's transformation had reached its peak. The blood moon's light bathed him in an eerie, crimson glow as he stalked the asylum's corridors in search of prey. His senses were heightened, and the scent of intruders filled the air. The primal hunger that gnawed at him urged him to hunt, to seek out the source of the invading presence. As Emma ventured into the asylum's darkest depths, she found herself face to face with Henry, the tormented werewolf. The blood moon had rendered him a creature of pure instinct, a force of nature driven by hunger and rage. His eyes glowed with an unholy fire as he lunged at her, his feral snarls echoing through the corridors. In a desperate struggle for survival, Emma fought to escape Henry's relentless pursuit. Her heart pounded in her chest as she navigated the labyrinthine passages of the asylum, her footsteps echoing like a macabre symphony of terror. The line between reality and nightmare had blurred beyond recognition. As the nightmarish chase continued, Emma stumbled upon a room that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It was a place of shifting walls and endless corridors, a place where time itself had become a twisted, distorted concept. Henry's howls grew louder, his presence closing in from all directions. In a final, heart-stopping confrontation, Emma managed to evade Henry's grasp and flee the asylum. She emerged into the dim light of dawn, the blood moon's malevolence fading with the first rays of sunlight. The asylum's haunting presence seemed to recede, as if it had never existed at all. As Emma looked back at the decaying structure, she knew that she had narrowly escaped the clutches of madness and despair. The asylum's secrets would forever remain hidden, its dark past a testament to the horrors that could consume the human mind. And in the quiet aftermath of that blood moon night, Emma understood the themes of madness, isolation, and the blurring of reality and fantasy in a way she could have never imagined. The asylum's malevolent aura had left an indelible mark on her soul, a chilling reminder that some mysteries were best left untouched, some darkness best left unexplored. In the shadow of a sprawling city, on the outskirts where civilization gave way to darkness, an abandoned asylum stood as a haunting relic of the past. Its towering, decaying walls and broken windows bore witness to a history tainted by madness and despair. It was a place forgotten by time, a place that beckoned to those who dared to venture into its depths. Emma was one such soul, an urban explorer with a fascination for the eerie and the unknown. She had heard the stories, the whispered legends of the asylum's dark past, and she couldn't resist the lure of its mysteries. With camera in hand and a heart filled with curiosity, she ventured into the forsaken structure, determined to capture the secrets that lay within. As Emma's footsteps echoed through the asylum's dimly lit corridors, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. Graffiti-like artwork adorned the walls, disturbing and chaotic in nature, as if the asylum itself had become a canvas for tortured souls. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, a silence that seemed to pulse with unseen malevolence. Unbeknownst to Emma, another presence lingered in the asylum that fateful night. Henry, a tormented soul with a dark secret, had sought refuge within the asylum's crumbling walls. He was a man cursed by the moon, a man whose very existence was bound to the lunar cycle. As the blood moon rose in the sky, Henry's transformation began. The night grew eerie and surreal as Henry's body contorted, his limbs elongating, and his senses sharpening to a fevered pitch. He had become a creature of the night, a werewolf, and the asylum had become his sanctuary. Henry's howls of agony pierced the silence, blending with the eerie echoes of the asylum itself. As Emma ventured deeper into the asylum, the darkness seemed to close in around her, and reality itself began to blur. Whispers echoed through the corridors, faint voices that spoke of madness and despair. Her camera's flash illuminated disturbing images on the walls, twisted depictions of torment and suffering. It was then that Emma stumbled upon a room that sent shivers down her spine. The walls were adorned with drawings that seemed to have been etched by tortured hands, each one a nightmarish tableau of insanity. The room's centerpiece was a blood-soaked bed, its rusted restraints a grim reminder of the horrors that had unfolded within these walls. As Emma continued to explore, she became increasingly aware of the asylum's malevolent presence. It whispered to her, its voice a cacophony of torment and despair. She could feel the weight of the madness that had consumed those who had once dwelled here, a madness that threatened to engulf her as well. Meanwhile, Henry's transformation had reached its peak. The blood moon's light bathed him in an eerie, crimson glow as he stalked the asylum's corridors in search of prey. His senses were heightened, and the scent of intruders filled the air. The primal hunger that gnawed at him urged him to hunt, to seek out the source of the invading presence. As Emma ventured into the asylum's darkest depths, she found herself face to face with Henry, the tormented werewolf. The blood moon had rendered him a creature of pure instinct, a force of nature driven by hunger and rage. His eyes glowed with an unholy fire as he lunged at her, his feral snarls echoing through the corridors. In a desperate struggle for survival, Emma fought to escape Henry's relentless pursuit. Her heart pounded in her chest as she navigated the labyrinthine passages of the asylum, her footsteps echoing like a macabre symphony of terror. The line between reality and nightmare had blurred beyond recognition. As the nightmarish chase continued, Emma stumbled upon a room that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It was a place of shifting walls and endless corridors, a place where time itself had become a twisted, distorted concept. Henry's howls grew louder, his presence closing in from all directions. In a final, heart-stopping confrontation, Emma managed to evade Henry's grasp and flee the asylum. She emerged into the dim light of dawn, the blood moon's malevolence fading with the first rays of sunlight. The asylum's haunting presence seemed to recede, as if it had never existed at all. As Emma looked back at the decaying structure, she knew that she had narrowly escaped the clutches of madness and despair. The asylum's secrets would forever remain hidden, its dark past a testament to the horrors that could consume the human mind. And in the quiet aftermath of that blood moon night, Emma understood the themes of madness, isolation, and the blurring of reality and fantasy in a way she could have never imagined. The asylum's malevolent aura had left an indelible mark on her soul, a chilling reminder that some mysteries were best left untouched, some darkness best left unexplored. In a forgotten town, where the memories of its past had crumbled like the gravestones in its cursed graveyard, a chilling legend whispered through the fog-shrouded streets. It spoke of vengeful spirits and a curse that had bound them for centuries, a curse that would draw Thomas, a paranormal investigator, into a nightmarish tale. The town was a place lost in time, its buildings weathered by the years, its streets eerily deserted. It was a place where shadows seemed to dance with the wind, and the howling of the wind echoed through the alleys. Thomas arrived with purpose, drawn by the tales of the town's cursed graveyard. As he ventured into the graveyard, he could feel the weight of the town's history pressing upon him. The gravestones, some weathered by centuries of decay, bore witness to the tragedies that had unfolded here. Each one told a story of lives cut short, of love lost, and of restless spirits seeking vengeance. It was amidst the crumbling gravestones that Thomas first encountered Lily, a ghostly apparition whose presence sent shivers down his spine. Her ethereal form drifted through the fog, her eyes filled with an otherworldly sadness. Lily's voice was a haunting whisper as she revealed her tragic backstory. She had been a young woman in love, her heart entwined with a man named Victor. But their love had been torn asunder by the curse that plagued the town. Victor had been transformed into a vengeful werewolf, forever bound to the graveyard that had claimed him. Tears welled in Lily's ghostly eyes as she confessed her role in the curse's perpetuation. In a desperate bid to save Victor from his cursed fate, she had made a pact with dark forces, a pact that had bound her to the graveyard as a restless spirit. Haunted by guilt and grief, Lily's spirit had remained trapped in the cursed graveyard, unable to find peace. It was a fate she could not escape, a fate that had drawn Thomas into her spectral world. Determined to uncover the truth and break the curse, Thomas delved deeper into the graveyard's tragic history. He discovered that the curse was rooted in a dark betrayal, a betrayal that had set in motion a chain of events that would forever bind the spirits to the town. As the night wore on, the fog thickened, and the graveyard seemed to come alive with the restless spirits of the past. Thomas could feel their presence, their sorrow, and their anger. It was a chilling reminder that the curse's grip on the town was unrelenting. The final confrontation with the vengeful spirit, Victor the werewolf, was a harrowing ordeal. With Lily's guidance, Thomas ventured into the heart of the graveyard, where the curse's power was at its strongest. In the moonlight, Victor emerged from the shadows, his form grotesque and twisted by the curse. His eyes burned with a vengeful fire as he lunged at Thomas, his feral snarls echoing through the graveyard. It was a battle of wills, a battle for redemption and release from the curse's grip. With Lily's help, Thomas uncovered the truth behind the curse, a truth that shattered the foundation of the vengeful spirit's existence. In a climactic moment, Victor's spirit was confronted with the consequences of his actions in life. He had been a pawn in a dark game, a victim of betrayal and manipulation. The curse that had bound him was not of his own making, but the product of a sinister vendetta. As the truth washed over him, Victor's vengeful fury began to wane. He realized that his pursuit of revenge had only perpetuated the curse, trapping the spirits of the town in an endless cycle of suffering. With a mournful howl, Victor's spirit began to dissipate, his form fading into the night. It was a bittersweet moment of release, a moment where the power of restless spirits had been harnessed to break the curse that had plagued the town for centuries. As the first rays of dawn broke over the cursed graveyard, a sense of peace settled over the town. The spirits of the past were finally free, their restless souls finding solace in the light of day. For Thomas and Lily, it was a moment of redemption, a moment where the power of restless spirits had been harnessed to break the curse's grip on the town. The themes of revenge, redemption, and the power of restless spirits had played out in a way they could have never imagined. And as they looked upon the once cursed graveyard, they knew that the town's history was forever changed. The darkness that had haunted its streets had been vanquished, and the memories of the past could finally rest in peace. The moon hung low in the night sky, casting a silvery glow over the remote, moonlit beach. The waves whispered secrets as they lapped at the shore, and the sand glistened like a sea of diamonds. It was a place known for eerie legends and strange disappearances, a place that had drawn Sam, a solitary beachcomber, into its enigmatic embrace. Every night, Sam wandered the lonely beach, his footsteps leaving faint imprints in the sand. He was a man of solitude, finding solace in the rhythmic crash of the waves and the soft caress of the moonlight. He combed the shore, searching for treasures that the sea had washed ashore, lost trinkets that held stories of their own. One fateful night, as the moon bathed the beach in its ethereal light, Sam's routine was interrupted by a presence he could not ignore. Emerging from the misty darkness was Olivia, a woman of otherworldly beauty. Her eyes held a deep, mysterious allure that seemed to draw him in like a moth to a flame. Their meeting was serendipitous, a chance encounter on the desolate shore. Olivia was like a siren, her presence captivating Sam's heart in an instant. Their conversations flowed like the tide, and they found themselves drawn to one another in a way that defied explanation. As days turned into weeks, Sam and Olivia's connection deepened. They would meet on the moonlit beach, their conversations filled with laughter and shared dreams. It was as if the beach itself had woven their destinies together, creating a bond that neither of them could resist. But beneath Olivia's enigmatic allure lay a fateful secret, a secret that would soon unravel under the full moon's watchful gaze. She had tried to keep it hidden, to shield Sam from the darkness that had plagued her for so long. But the moon had its own plans that could not be denied. As the night of the full moon approached, the air grew heavy with anticipation, and a sense of foreboding settled over the beach. Olivia's true nature began to reveal itself, her once radiant beauty transforming into something dark and malevolent. It was during a moonlit stroll along the shore that Sam stumbled upon Olivia's chilling secret. Her eyes had taken on a feral, predatory gleam, and her body contorted in agony as her limbs elongated and her skin rippled with unnatural changes. She had become a creature of the night, a werewolf, her transformation a horrific sight to behold. In that moment, Sam's heart pounded with fear and betrayal. He had fallen in love with a woman whose very existence was bound to the lunar cycle, a woman whose monstrous instincts threatened to consume her. The conflict between human desires and monstrous instincts had come crashing down upon them, shattering their romance like a fragile shell. As Olivia's transformation reached its peak, she let out a mournful howl, her feral snarls echoing through the moonlit night. She lunged at Sam, her eyes blazing with an unholy hunger, her once gentle nature consumed by the beast within. In a desperate struggle for survival, Sam fought to escape Olivia's relentless pursuit. The moonlit beach had become a battleground of love and betrayal, a place where human and monster clashed in a primal struggle for dominance. The sands of the beach bore witness to their harrowing confrontation, the waves carrying away the echoes of their desperate cries. Sam's heart ached with the realization that the woman he had loved was now a creature of darkness, a werewolf driven by a hunger that could not be appeased. In the end, it was the moon itself that intervened. As the night waned, the full moon's light began to fade, and with it, Olivia's monstrous form. She collapsed to the sand, her human form returning, her eyes filled with remorse and anguish. Sam watched as the woman he had loved lay before him, her tears mingling with the sand, her heart heavy with the weight of her monstrous secret. It was a tragic moment of love and betrayal, a moment where the conflict between human desires and monstrous instincts had reached its devastating conclusion. And as the moon sank below the horizon, Sam knew that their love could never be the same. The themes of love, betrayal, and the conflict between human desires and monstrous instincts had played out in a way he could have never imagined. As he looked out over the moonlit beach, he understood that some secrets were too dark to be hidden, some desires too powerful to be controlled. The beach, with its eerie legends and strange disappearances, had borne witness to a love that had been consumed by the darkness of the night, a love that could never be forgotten. In the heart of Transylvania, nestled amid the dark and foreboding Carpathian mountains, stood a centuries-old castle that bore witness to secrets as old as time itself. Its imposing silhouette loomed against the moonlit sky, a testament to a history steeped in darkness and dread. On a moonless night, Maria found herself standing before the castle's massive, ironclad gates, her heart heavy with trepidation. She had been invited by Count Dragon, the castle's enigmatic owner, to explore its ancient halls and eerie corridors. What she did not know was that her visit would unleash a chilling curse that had lain dormant for centuries. As Maria crossed the threshold into the castle, a sense of foreboding settled over her. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, and the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. The castle's interiors were adorned with eerie portraits of dragons' ancestors, each with a haunting resemblance to him. Maria's exploration led her to the castle's archives, where dusty tomes and weathered manuscripts told the tales of generations past. It was here that she uncovered the origins of the curse that plagued the castle, a curse that bound Count Dragon to a fearsome destiny. Centuries ago, Dragon's ancestors had made a pact with dark forces, a pact that had granted them power and immortality in exchange for a horrifying curse. Under the light of the full moon, they would transform into fearsome werewolves, their insatiable hunger for blood driving them to commit unspeakable horrors. As Maria delved deeper into the archives, she realized the dire consequences of her discovery. Count Dragon, unaware of her research, had joined her in the archives, his presence a chilling reminder of the curse that haunted the castle. He was an enigmatic figure, his eyes bearing the weight of centuries, his every movement calculated and deliberate. In a moment of revelation, Maria confronted Dragon with the curse's terrible truth. She pleaded with him to find a way to break the curse, to free himself from the inescapable ties to his dark past. But Dragon's eyes were filled with resignation, and he confessed that there was no escape, that the curse was an unbreakable chain that bound him to a fate he could not evade. As the night of the full moon drew near, Maria's dread intensified. She knew that the curse would soon be unleashed, that Count Dragon would undergo a horrifying transformation that would turn him into a creature of nightmare. The castle, with its gothic grandeur and chilling portraits, seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy, its walls closing in around her. The night of the full moon arrived with an eerie stillness, the castle bathed in an otherworldly glow. Maria watched in terror as Dragon's transformation began. His body contorted in agony, his bones cracking and shifting, his once human form giving way to the monstrous creature that lay within. With a heart-wrenching howl, Dragon emerged from the shadows, his body now that of a fearsome werewolf, his eyes burning with an unholy fire. He lunged at Maria, his feral snarls echoing through the castle's dark corridors. In a desperate struggle for survival, Maria fought to escape Dragon's relentless pursuit. The castle had become a nightmarish battleground, a place where the past and the present converged in a chilling dance of fate and curses. As the moonlight bathed the castle in its eerie glow, Maria found herself in a final, heart-stopping confrontation with the monstrous werewolf. Dragon's humanity had been consumed by the curse, and there was no trace of the man she had met at the castle's gates. In a moment of desperation, Maria pleaded with Dragon to fight the curse, to regain control of his monstrous instincts. But the curse's grip was unrelenting, and Dragon's transformation had left him a creature driven solely by instinct and hunger. The battle between human and monster raged on, the walls of the castle bearing witness to their harrowing struggle. Maria knew that her fate hung in the balance, that the curse's power was too great to be denied. In the end, it was the first light of dawn that intervened. As the sun's rays broke over the Carpathian Mountains, Dragon's monstrous form began to wane, his feral snarls giving way to cries of agony. The curse had been temporarily quelled, and Dragon's humanity had been restored, albeit briefly. As Maria looked upon the man she had come to know, she understood the themes of fate, curses, and the inescapable ties to the past in a way she could have never imagined. The castle, with its eerie portraits and dark secrets, had borne witness to a battle that had raged for centuries, a battle that would forever haunt its walls. And as she left the castle behind, Maria knew that some curses were too powerful to be broken, some destinies too dark to be denied. The castle, with its centuries-old history and chilling secrets, had left an indelible mark on her soul, a mark that would forever bind her to the horrors of that fateful night. In the heart of a fog-shrouded forest, where the twisted branches of ancient trees seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers, a chilling tale unfolded. Eliza, a fierce huntress, had long been plagued by the spectral presence of a vengeful werewolf that haunted her village. It was a presence that defied the boundaries of life and death, a presence that had driven Eliza to embark on a perilous midnight hunt. The forest was a place steeped in mystery and otherworldly energy. An eerie, perpetual mist clung to the trees and obscured visibility, giving the woods an ethereal, otherworldly quality. It was said that the forest itself was cursed, a place where the living and the dead walked hand in hand. Eliza had grown up hearing tales of the ghostly werewolf that haunted the forest, tales passed down through generation. The creature was said to be the restless spirit of a man who had been wronged in life, a man whose thirst for vengeance had bound him to the forest for all eternity. As the moon hung low in the night sky, Eliza embarked on her fateful hunt. Armed with a silver dagger and her unyielding determination, she ventured deeper into the mist-shrouded woods, her senses on high alert. The forest was alive with eerie sounds, the whisper of the wind, the creaking of branches, and the distant howls that sent shivers down her spine. Eliza's pursuit of the spectral werewolf was relentless, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. She could feel its presence lurking in the shadows, a malevolent force that watched her every move. It was during a moonless night that Eliza finally came face to face with the ghostly werewolf. Its form emerged from the swirling mist, its eyes burning with an unholy fire. Eliza's dagger gleamed in the darkness as she prepared for the battle that would decide her fate. But as she looked into the creature's eyes, she saw not a monster, but a reflection of the pain and suffering that had bound it to the forest. The werewolf's tragic backstory unfolded before her, a tale of betrayal and injustice that had driven it to seek vengeance in death. Long ago, the creature had been a man named Victor, a simple woodsman who had been falsely accused of a crime he did not commit. Betrayed by those he had trusted, Victor had met a gruesome end, his life unjustly taken from him. In death, his thirst for revenge had transformed him into the spectral werewolf that now haunted the forest. Eliza's heart ached with sympathy as she heard Victor's story, and she realized that the creature before her was not entirely a monster, but a tormented soul seeking justice. She knew that she had a choice to make, a choice that would determine the fate of both herself and the vengeful spirit. In a moment of startling clarity, Eliza lowered her dagger and extended her hand to the spectral werewolf. The creature hesitated, its eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and longing. Slowly, it extended a ghostly paw, and their hands touched, bridging the gap between the living and the dead. The supernatural battle that had seemed inevitable gave way to an unexpected alliance. Eliza and Victor, the Huntress and the Haunted, joined forces to confront the true source of the curse that bound the werewolf to the forest, a malevolent spirit of darkness that had orchestrated Victor's unjust death. Together, they ventured deeper into the heart of the haunted forest, where the malevolent spirit lay in wait. The mist grew thicker, obscuring their vision, and the air seemed to crackle with supernatural energy. As they confronted the malevolent spirit, a battle of life and death unfolded in the heart of the forest. Eliza's determination and Victor's vengeful spirit clashed with the dark force that sought to perpetuate the curse. In a climactic moment, the malevolent spirit was vanquished, its power broken, and the curse that had bound Victor to the forest was shattered. With a mournful howl, the spectral werewolf began to dissipate, its form fading into the mist. As the mist cleared, Eliza found herself alone in the forest, the eerie stillness broken only by the distant call of a night bird. The curse had been lifted, and the forest had returned to its ethereal, otherworldly calm. Eliza knew that her fateful hunt had led to a surprising outcome, one that defied the boundaries of life and death. The themes of vengeance, forgiveness, and the blurring of the living and the dead had played out in a way she could have never imagined. As she looked out over the mist-shrouded forest, she understood that some bonds could transcend the realm of the living, that some spirits could find solace in the most unexpected of alliances. The forest, with its twisted trees and ghostly presence, had borne witness to a tale that defied the boundaries of the natural world, a tale that would forever linger in the mists of time. In the heart of a dense, foreboding forest, where the trees loomed tall and the night seemed impenetrable, stood a remote cabin bathed in the flickering light of countless candles. This was the stage for a chilling tale of family, sacrifice, and a curse that defied all attempts at escape. James and Emily, siblings bound by an unbreakable bond, found themselves in that cabin on a fateful night. James, a man with a cursed bloodline, had spent years searching for a cure to his affliction. The curse that plagued him was relentless, one that would force him into a gruesome transformation on the night of the full moon. Emily, his devoted sister, had stood by his side through every trial and tribulation. She had watched as James had explored every dark corner of the world, seeking any means to break free from the curse that had haunted their family for generations. The cabin, surrounded by the towering trees of the dark forest, was a place of refuge for the sibling. Its walls were adorned with mementos of happier times, a stark contrast to the impending doom that hung over them. The flickering candles cast eerie shadows, creating a hauntingly intimate atmosphere. As the night of the full moon drew near, James's desperation reached its peak. He knew that the transformation was inevitable, that the curse that bound him could not be denied. He had tried every remedy, sought the counsel of countless experts, but the curse remained unbroken. Emily, her heart heavy with sorrow, had stood by him through it all. She had watched as her brother's once joyful spirit had withered under the weight of the curse, but her love for him was unwavering, and she had vowed to help him confront his impending transformation. On that fateful night, as the moon hung low in the sky, James and Emily gathered in the candlelit cabin. The air was thick with anticipation, and the forest outside seemed to hold its breath. It was a night that had haunted their family for generations, a night that would test their love and their resolve. James, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resignation, looked to Emily for support. She held his trembling hand, her own eyes reflecting the pain of their shared fate. They knew that the final transformation was upon them, and there was no escape. As the moonlight filtered through the cabin's windows, James felt the curse's grip on him intensify. His body contorted in agony, his bones cracking and shifting, his once human form giving way to the monstrous creature that lay within. Emily watched in horror as her brother underwent the horrifying transformation. She could hear his agonized cries, see the anguish in his eyes as he battled the beast within. It was a heart-wrenching sight, a sight that tested the limits of their love and their sacrifice. But Emily knew that she had a role to play in her brother's fate. She had prepared for this moment, had readied herself for the unthinkable. With a heavy heart, she raised a silver dagger, its blade gleaming in the candlelight, and approached the transformed James. In a moment of heartbreak and sacrifice, Emily drove the silver dagger into her brother's heart, ending his torment and the curse that had plagued their family for generations. As James lay lifeless on the cabin floor, the moonlight bathed the scene in an eerie, haunting glow. Emily's tears fell like rain as she looked upon her brother's lifeless form. She had done what had to be done, had made the ultimate sacrifice to free James from the curse. It was a tragic and chilling conclusion, one that would haunt her for the rest of her days. The cabin, with its flickering candles and mementos of happier times, bore witness to the heartbreaking act of love and sacrifice. The themes of family, sacrifice, and the tragedy of uncontrollable forces had played out in a way that neither James nor Emily could have ever imagined. As Emily stood alone in the candlelit cabin, surrounded by the shadows of the dark forest, she knew that the curse had been broken, that her brother was finally at peace. But the cost of that peace was a heavy one, a cost that would forever weigh on her soul. And as the night outside began to wane, and the forest reclaimed its eerie stillness, Emily understood that some sacrifices were too great to bear, some curses too powerful to be broken. The cabin, with its flickering candles and heartbreaking memories, had borne witness to a love that had transcended the boundaries of life and death, a love that would never fade away.